Hi, I'm Armando Iannucci. Welcome all to this Guardian live event. I'm going to be performing the role of Fiona Bruce in tonight's proceedings. And I want to say hello to the thousands that are joining us live throughout the country. What a year it's been. The stupidest on record, apparently. And it's going to get stupider and stupider in years to come unless we do something about it. So, for a rational analysis of all the economic and cultural and social implications of the events of the last 12 months, get out now, because that's not happening. Instead, we've got two people who have the kind of rather unenviable task on a kind of twice weekly, sometimes 3, 4, 5 times weekly basis of taking the catalogue of turds that come their way and somehow giving some shape and rational sense to it and yet making us laugh at the same time. So please welcome Marina Hyde and John Crace. Here we go. And before we start, I just have to say that the reason I've got this is that I'm actually getting live questions from people around the country who think this is only Connect. And I'll occasionally read out some of the questions, but that's also a cue to you to think about questions. What we'll do is we'll chat for about 45 minutes about the year, and then we'll be coming to you for questions for the final sort of half an hour. We won't answer them, but it might just remind us of some other things that we've forgotten. And it's funny, when we kind of met up to talk about the year, and we're trying to remember all the things that were in it. Oh God, Partygate was going on, and Matt Hancock, and whatever. I mean, it's so, Ukraine and Liz Truss, my God. Can't wait till we get to that. But I mean, it was so packed that at one point we actually just went, oh God, the Queen died. Jeez, I'd so forgotten. So, I mean, it's just been, we'll try and go through it in kind of monthly order if we can. But, I mean, where should we start? Should we start with the end, with Matt Hancock and all that says? Or?
Armando, he's discovered a whole new world of possibility.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, he's leaving. He's not leaving us, though. I feel it's not the last we've seen of Matt. Well, it's not definitely.
Is he leaving us, or have we left him?
Yeah, he's doing one of the SAS formats in February. I can't remember which one.
Okay.
There's two special forces formats that are on our television currently.
There's rival SAS.
Yeah, there's rival. Yeah, and maybe that's why we're so bad at all the evacuations and things, because everyone's just teaching Matt Hancock to kind of climb the rope ladder.
Yes.
Anyway, so he's going to be doing that. But I think he's got the eye on the One show. Won't get it. We'll cover for Hollywood.
I think he's trying to become Ed Balls.
Right.
He wants to do Strictly Come Dancing. That will be the apotheosis of his career.
And is this part of his campaign to explain dyslexia to the wider public?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a big part of it. It's a big part of it.
It's interpretive dance.
Yes. So rather than switching the music off for the dancer what are they going to do? How are they going to do dyslexic dancing?
I feel like I can't go down this rocky road.
That could be career-ending, really.
What is it saying? I mean, yes, and he wrote his letter of resigning from politics today, didn't he? So,
yeah, he did a TikTok.
He did a TikTok?
Yeah.
What did he do?
He did a TikTok saying that he'd found a new world of possibility.
How did he do it? I mean, did he just go, this is Matt Hancock?
But it turned out that was a bit of info from the book this week, that when he did the resignation video, when he was first seen with Gina Lollobrigida in the office, and the camera was sort of slightly shaky. Boris Johnson was the guy holding the phone, and apparently he kept nodding so much when he was first doing it that they had to do about 5 takes. But that came out in Matt Hancock's book, which is out this week.
Excellent. Boris Johnson, his only job was to hold the phone, and he couldn't even do that.
Yeah. And Matt doesn't even manage to tell the truth, because having written this sort of long letter about how politics and him had parted ways temporarily because he had more to give outside Westminster. It turns out that the reason he's resigning is because his constituency association don't want him.
Yeah.
Along with a lot of other people.
It'd be great. It'd be ironic if they actually selected Ed Balls instead.
Yeah. Oh, he would never recover.
Yes. But what is it saying about where we are at the end of this year, where so many politicians, Sajid Javid, a great figure who dominated the last 12 months.
These people are now called grandees, but they're not.
They're not grandees.
They're not grandees.
No. Minis.
But they're all,
yes.
there's all different types of them who are going, even the young ones. I don't know how and then they're going to have no one to, it's going to be if they do go into opposition, it will be a quite ramshackle crew rebuilding.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure what they'll be able to be rebuilt.
But it's going to be mad because anyone who's like young or has had some ministerial experience but not good enough to become Prime Minister is going to go. So it is just going to be the mad ones left, isn't it?
But they could be just like a sort of mad, I mean, in one's wildest dreams, you could imagine them coming third. And the sort of Lib Dems and the SNP bigger than them. And they now sit in the naughty corner.
Yes.
Just about 7 of them arguing amongst themselves.
But the mad ones will think that's great because we'd rather exhibit our madness and get the numbers that we deserve and stay true to our principles than sell out by winning or coming second.
Yeah, that used to be Labour's approach.
Yes. And who's going to be the mad leader who's going to rise up? I mean, Boris says he's going to stand again.
Yeah,
except he's going to stand. He says he's going to stand again in Uxbridge, which he's going to lose.
Right.
So he'll have to be the leader from afar.
He is anyway. He's always on holiday.
Yeah. He always was the leader. Yes, he was the leader.
And he's been bankrolled by the Bamfords as well. He can't even afford his own home anymore.
He will be able to soon with all his speeches, won't he?
Yeah.
Well, he's now the master of cryptocurrency, isn't he, Boris? Isn't he the human face of cryptocurrency?
I've just decided I'm not going to understand it.
No,
because it's going to be revealed as an obvious scam, so obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I will never have had to understand it. Is he the face of a coin?
Yes. No. He is. He's earning most of his money giving speeches at conferences and conventions about cryptocurrency.
But you don't think he gets paid in crypto, does he?
That would be great.
Yeah.
And he's been assured that he's earned a fortune. And and Carrie says, well, where is it? And he goes, well, how do you switch this thing on? I don't... Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Well, okay, so taking Matt Hancock as the ivory bookend of the year. Shall we go back to the beginning of the year? I can't believe it was Partygate at the beginning. That seems so like the 20th century, given what else has been going on.
Yeah, people went to them in penny farthings, the parties. No, they went in the booze suitcase.
Yes,
the wheelie suitcase of booze.
Yes.
The broken swing.
Yeah, down to the co-op.
Yeah.
Sick everywhere.
Yeah.
Sick all over Prince Philip. And yet they thought that was normal.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Didn't they say people will give it, when they were trying to make it better by giving anonymous off-the-record briefings about what they'd done, someone said, they really had a messiah complex because they were, saving everyone. It's like, but everybody died. So, what?
Yes.
And probably because you were all pissed.
Yes. And wasn't it, did you feel sorry for Rishi Sunak getting fined for popping in on a...
I loved it.
Yeah?
It was totally unfair, but he could just tell he was the absolute goody two-shoes at school, and nothing could give me more pleasure than the fact he got fined for that.
Do you think Dominic Raab was just pushing him in, thinking, when you see
Go
what's
for it.
happened?
You'll have a good time. Here's your orange juice.
Yeah. Do you think Rishi Sunak is bullied by the cabinet now? Do you think that's what's happening?
Well, he's certainly bullied by the rest of the party, isn't he? So I don't see why the cabinet would sort of feel they didn't have license to do the same.
I mean, is the consequence of what happened at the start of the year where we are now, which is like no one has any authority anymore?
But that was always going to be the problem, which is that if the man is constantly shown to be lying, then it's quite reasonable for people to believe in all sorts of things. And also, you know, on a sort of really depressingly serious note, that's a big part of the rise of conspiracism and the idea that it's all you're being lied to all the time, and that it's all, you know, they were being lied to quite a lot of the time.
I think because this is going on, we just have to confirm, we just have to make sure that the lawyer, he did lie. Yeah. Just check.
All the time.
He did lie all the time.
All the time.
Yes.
So I think that, and they can't tell anyone what to do now. No one feels that it removed a huge amount of the sort of the whole idea of sort of consent to be governed. That really, which was why, in a way, it was about such sort of silly things, you know, the booze suitcase and the being ambushed by cake, you know, all those kind of really.
Yes, that was this year, wasn't it? Yeah.
But they all have really, they all actually did really matter.
Yes.
Yeah. They couldn't seem to see that.
Yes.
Oh no, the weird thing is that it was all so ritualised. Friday night was the night they all got completely trashed.
Yeah.
And
Wine Time Friday.
Wine Time Friday. And it never occurred to them that they were doing anything wrong, apparently.
That's because they were drunk at the time.
Yeah, even though...
when they were thinking about it. Yes. Would this have happened? Was this just Boris, or was this under Theresa May? Was it?
Oh yeah.
But how did this happen so suddenly then? What?
I think people would have just died in the same numbers, just more orderly. Under
everything
Theresa May.
He touches.
Yeah.
Everything he touches.
Yeah.
It happens so quickly because the minute he comes into a room, it just, you know, its moral standards flee.
I did for the first 3 months of this year and the last, whatever, the dying months of the Boris premiership, I did begin to realise what it must be like to be married to him.
Yeah.
Which was this. I'm so sorry. It won't happen again. And then next week, I'm so sorry. And then he started just giving us money, like, you know, for heating and let me make it up to you. Let me buy a nice dress and get some heating, as if somehow we'd be bought off. And then I'm terribly sorry. I don't know what. Yeah.
And yet
we stayed with it. Oh no, we didn't. Actually, we chucked him out. Great. Yeah.
But some people we'll come to that bit when the people wanted to get back together with him.
Oh yes.
To make it work all over again.
Oh yes.
We'll come to that later in the year.
Okay. And then, of course, that we all thought he would go because of Partygate and COVID and all these things. But it wasn't. It was to do with a deputy, was it the
Chris
deputy?
Pincher.
It was to do with a groper called Chris Pincher.
Yes, of course. It
It's
writes
so
itself.
on the
It writes itself.
It writes itself
yes.
poorly, doesn't it?
Yeah. Though there are so many other gropers.
That event needed a second draft, really, didn't it? Yes. So, yes, now who saw that coming? That was, and that seemed to be, for everyone, Sajid Javid especially, that was the final straw. I think.
Yeah, it happened. That guy from the Foreign Office, former Permanent Secretary of the Foreign Office, Simon MacDonald, who wrote that letter saying, by the way, that none of this is true. He knew about all of this. It was just the sort of final. It was the lie that broke everybody's already broken back. But it was amazing that it had got that far.
It was the camel that broke Boris's back.
I did actually find it so amazing that's what I think we've seen over the last few years is the total death of shame. The guy who stood up every night on telly and said, you have to follow these laws, which I personally have made, because if you don't, it's a matter of life or death. Then is found to have broken them, investigated by the police, fined, and then says, no, there's no reason I can't be Prime Minister, for his own laws. That is such a mind-blowing thing, and you just couldn't let it go. And yet, the amount of months it rumbled on, even when we knew he'd done that, I think that is just completely extraordinary.
But isn't there some hope in the fact that in the end it didn't work? You know, in the end he was found out.
But he was only done. No, I don't think there was really, because they were willing to have him back, and it wasn't. it was for some sort of ridiculous thing. It was like tax evasion, Al Capone and tax evasion.
Yes, yeah.
In a way.
And actually, yes, you see, I mean, resigning now is no longer a kind of end of career issue. It's seen as a kind of 6 days away.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're sort of back to Matt Hancock, really.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt certainly doesn't see this as the end of his career. He sees it as the launch pad. Again, on a serious note, I kind of find, back to the pandemic was the most traumatic sort of national event, of a generation. And yet Matt Hancock's sort of pandemic diaries are fiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
They are presented as a truth, but they have been rewritten, obviously by Isabel Oakeshott, to get away. And the book opens with Matt reading a news in brief on the Sunday Times of a mystery virus in the Far East. And he goes to himself, aha, that's coming to England. It's going to be big. And literally no one was thinking that in government. Otherwise, they'd have done something completely different.
I just see the kind of, he wants like a drama based around his life, doesn't he?
There are some, he has had quite a lot of publicity shots taken that always look like he's playing a sort of hard-bitten cop on a...
Hancock.
Yeah. He's a...
Doesn't play by the rules.
Yeah.
He writes the rules, he just doesn't play by the rules. I would so love it if in a year's time he was just, I don't know, in the suit of the mascot for like Watford or something. That's where he ended up.
I think he'll be doing holiday cover for Phil and Holly.
Oh, well, both of them?
Yeah.
Oh, him and Gina.
Him and Gina.
There is some chemistry you just can't improve on.
So, yes, so Matt Hancock, so he's going to be, on...
I think it was just a holiday cover. Like what Eamon and Ruth used to do, but those two, I think.
And every now and then when he's attacked by anyone, even if a guest comes on and gets belligerent and says, why are you responsible for the death of why did you just say, I fell in love. I just fell in love. That's all it was. And, I just looking for a bit of forgiveness. So.
Yeah. As indeed we all are.
Can you imagine him doing the recipe testing? I can see the whole thing. I really fear it's in our futures.
I do like that he did. Remember when he left, he resigned as health minister, and he attempted to first come back doing a walkabout in his constituency.
That was amazing with the ladies in the market and everyone.
Hello, how's it going? You've got to get out every now and then, see how just terrible small talk. And then at one point he literally went, there you go, fist bump.
He's self-narrating all the time because if he stopped self-narrating, then he would hear the other voices. So he has to keep saying. So this is why he constantly has to be on the journey.
So he's got to go. Nice, just crossing the legs.
Yeah.
This will be on the program. On the kind of this morning, just crossing the legs there, just looking at the guests over there. But underneath it, he's going, "You're a miserable failure. And if this does not go right, you will be the mascot for Watford FC. You've got to get this right." Yes. Let's have a look at the old recipes. Let's see the menus. So now, I'm turning it to Alan Partridge. Sorry,
I know.
I'm making
but
Matt.
Isn't Matt?
He's black polo neck.
The black polo neck. Maybe Matt is slightly.
Do you think he genuinely thinks he is in line for being the next James Bond?
He's ruling nothing out. A world of possibilities. I've read the phrase "world of possibilities," and I want you to see it as such.
Yeah, the name's Hancock. Matt Hancock.
Bond is back, and this time he's going to talk about dyslexia and how it's, as well as smashing Putin's charlatans. So then we got into the kind of cavalcade of prime ministers.
A cavalcade of whimsy.
That was, I think, I found, it's hard to think it was as late as September when everything reached its, I don't know, was it a climax? Was it an apogee? A zenith?
Boris Johnson was still the caretaker prime minister at the very start.
Yeah, but a caretaker who who's very well dodgy.
Yeah, I've seen the movie.
And has been asked not to come anywhere near the school. The moment he knew he was no longer Prime Minister, he went, oh, fuck this, and just went away, even though he
but he was promising to come back, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So, you know, it was sayonara, you know.
Thank you. Question here from Jeremy Foster. Will Keir Starmer provide as much material for your columns? I'll give you time to think about that one. I'm just going to put that there. Yes, Boris's kind of absent premiership. In fact, they all disappeared, didn't they?
Yeah.
All the Suella Braverman didn't turn up. Dominic Raab didn't turn up.
Well, that was because he's under police guard, wasn't it?
These handcuffs are just the wrong format. You just take them away. Piece of shit. Hang on, just a second. And that for me, I found that the most shocking element of the whole year. The fact that as soon as they realised they would no longer be in power, their true selves came out, which is, we really don't care.
Well, so I remember reading a quote about Sunak after his wife's non-dom scandal.
Oh, yeah. Was that this year?
Yeah, that was this year.
Oh, my God.
And it said,
Yes.
and someone said, you know, it's been really hard for him the last couple of weeks. It's been really hard for him the last couple of weeks. But, you know, he's not the sort of, if he doesn't think it's going to happen from his Prime Minister, he's not the sort of guy to stick around, so he'll probably just go off and make it. It's like, sorry we had to uncover your wife's tax affairs. But it's been 2 weeks, and you're like, okay, well, if it's not going to work out, I'm going to... Yeah. But as luck would have it.
Yeah, he played a wily game, didn't he?
I think that picture that was at the Remembrance service this year, when you've got like, you know, Major and Blair and sort of Brown, reasonable distance, and then suddenly you've got like Cameron, May, Johnson, Truss. Sunak, 5 faces like that, looking like an album cover. It's like, oh my God, a permanent reminder of the banter era forever. I mean,
because, I mean, that is the fact that Liz Truss will be back every Remembrance Day for the next 40 years, like in the line of former pod prime ministers.
Laying the thing, the whole thing.
Like
There's other things like that too.
Like some ghost.
Yeah.
Just,
yeah.
You know,
I wonder if there'll be a place for Michelle Donnellan. I don't know if you remember her. She was after Sajid resigned, she became, and various other residents, she became education secretary.
Oh, yes.
For a day.
Yeah.
And then she resigned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, I'd forgotten about this. Thanks for... Yes, it wasn't just the Boris Johnson. I mean, we'll get on to the Prime Minister thing. But it was like, suddenly we had 5 education secretaries, no health secretaries. There must have been ministers waking up going, I genuinely can't remember which department I'm in charge of.
Where do I go?
Yeah.
I think it's pensions, but I have no idea.
Yeah. No, Michelle Donnellan is sort of wonderfully guileless and sort of naive. She was before the Select Committee yesterday, and John Nicholson, the SNP, asked her, so have you or any of your predecessors ever bothered to have a meeting with the Scottish Culture Secretary? And she said, no, but it's on my list of things to do. I'm going to do it next week. And then he said, oh, well, in which case, can you tell me his name? And she said, I haven't a clue. Well, so she's going to have a meeting with someone.
Can we just consider then, therefore, now we're on to the phenomenon of Nadim Zahawi, because because he became Chancellor and the next day told Boris to go.
Yeah.
Then resigned. Did he resign as Chancellor?
No, he didn't. He carried on.
He's
not this year's shortest serving Chancellor, though, Armando.
No.
So he's actually this year's second shortest serving.
Who's the shortest serving Chancellor?
Kwarteng.
Oh, I've got...
Yay!
I mean, it's so ridiculous.
He's coming.
We'll come to him.
Yeah. I've just got to keep an eye on the time.
I've got a funny story
using
about
all
him
my
as well at
devices
university.
here. It says 11:30 on this. It's not. I've just got to be at 9:30. Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. There we go. I feel like I'm some kind of Bond villain here with like all my technology. I will control the world. Musk in charge of.
You need a cat.
I need a cat. But he became Chancellor, then told the person who appointed him to go, but held on, and then was sacked as Chancellor by
Liz Truss.
Liz Truss.
Yes. But then when Liz Truss went, he supported... There was a great example of a tweet.
I mean, you have to understand, a lot of this we have to put in memory holes for our mental health.
He tweeted his support, I think, for Penny Mordaunt, and then realised that Penny Mordaunt... And then deleted that tweet and tweeted his support for Rishi Sunak. Yes.
And it's paid off because he's now
character.
got a job in the cabinet that no one can remember. Because I certainly can't remember what he's doing.
Is he Chancellor of the Duchy
of Lancaster? That's it.
What did they do? There must have been 20 of them.
Yeah.
Michael Gove has been one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it can't be good.
What job did Gavin Williamson brief? Sorry, this is
Gavin Williamson! Oh my God! Please, Gavin Williamson.
God, it's like playing Mornington Crescent.
What is Gavin Williamson? It's like. It's
so
just all these
esoteric.
faces you've forgotten about, and then they just come. It's like this whole government thing. It's just been one big tumble dryer of the same old socks, just tumbling round and round and round, and ones you've forgotten, you occasionally spot again. Go, oh, they're back.
He had a duchy for about 5 minutes.
Did he, Gav?
Earlier last month, I believe.
What has he got on everyone that he keeps being asked back, even though he seems? I don't think it's
that good. He's a good operator, but he's not good enough because then they all talk about it afterwards. So.
Oh, perhaps he just knows that they've all been shoplifting in the common shop, something like that.
But what is his special? I've read that he's a good operator and so on, but he doesn't. But
he's only half good.
He doesn't seem such.
He doesn't. He was always held to have kept, when Theresa May unfortunately lost her majority in the unfortunate election.
Yes. That wasn't this year, was it? No, it wasn't.
He kind of kept the show on the road which was obviously quite hard, but given that they only had one policy they were trying to get through, which in the end didn't get through, I also agree with you that he's not that great an operator.
Okay. So why did he come back then?
Maybe Rishi Sunak, also not a great operator, thinks he is one.
Okay, well, before we get to him, we must then, so after Boris, obviously, now Liz Truss, we all knew, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, I knew, I could tell whenever I saw her being interviewed on
for the last decade.
For the last decade, I just thought, she's mad. Who is this? Who's this? What's she doing? She's talking, but it doesn't make any sense. So everyone knew. So how did it happen? How did that happen?
Well, the Tory membership...
right. They stopped there. They like that, do they?
They like that.
They like that, yeah. They want... What they really want, what Liz Truss offered was... After all the illusions and whatever of Brexit, these are like people who've been taking drugs for a very long time. And Liz Truss, instead of saying, let's just open the curtains and look at what a horrible morning it is, said, I will give you more drugs.
Right.
And so even though this is a difficult analogy to use about Conservative members in the countryside, nonetheless, this is what happened. She was saying, no, let's keep the curtains shut and get more drugs.
Right.
And Rishi Sunak, who was going to open the curtains and show them their bleak Brexit morning.
Yeah, and call the police.
They didn't want to see it. They didn't want to see it. So they just continued to vote for, more fairy tales.
And of course, when these elections happen, they forget that actually you're not changing the government. You're not changing the policies of the elected government. You're just voting for whoever's heading that government.
Yeah.
But they fall into this trap of thinking that if they elect Prime Minister, they can start from scratch with a whole new set of policies. And it does,
to be fair to her, she had a go.
She had a go. Yeah. Okay, well, let's discuss how that went.
Well, I think the thing to remember about Sir Liz Truss is that however short her tenure was, it was 10 days longer than it would have been simply because the Queen died.
Yes.
It would have been a 34-day
So it would have been a 34-day.
Hang on.
And I mean, record-breaking.
Is this some conspiracy theory we're on our thing here?
Yeah, the Queen. Yeah, she killed the Queen.
to get her over the line. Yeah.
Yeah, she was the last person to see her alive.
She wanted to. She wanted to tour with the Queen's coffin, believing herself perhaps to be a new member of the family.
She did actually, yes.
Yeah, she wanted to
but
go
not with the Queen's coffin.
with Charles, and walk
tonight.
around with it.
At the Palladium,
Live from
Liz Truss and
Wembley.
the Queen's coffin.
The Queen's coffin and Liz Truss.
Yeah. See who you can tell the difference. Which one has more energy?
Yeah.
But they had those 10 days to cook up their, and no one seems to have said to them during that time this would be. It seems like so much was suspended, you know, from the Centre Parks cabins to that actually nobody advised them. And
but again, isn't this the kind of? I mean, I almost see it like is it in condensed form, really, what it is we've been dealing with for the last 12 years, which is this gradual. This you know, what started off as a background noise of, you know, Brexit and people shouldn't go on strike and have benefits, and, you know, it's became this kind of in its concentrated form in that kind of 34 days of hell, whatever, which is we genuinely think it's a good idea to give the rich more money and to stigmatise the poor. Yeah. And that way we'll have growth. And anyone who disagrees with us is an enemy of growth.
Yeah,
including the free markets, unfortunately.
The anti-growth coalition.
Unfortunately, the anti-growth coalition included the free markets, the entire British public, most of the Conservative Party. It was just, you know, these are tricky opponents.
And that, to me, it just seemed to me, her and Kwarteng and Rhys Morgan, it just felt we were getting that raw hull of what they really are.
Yeah, I mean, it was really strange to be sort of close up and sort of sketching it, because I was kind of thinking, this is fantastic. I mean, to see the sort of Tory party kind of collapse and implode so quickly. I mean, as we've spoken, one of the things about Boris was how long it took to get rid of him. Once the whole world knew he was a liar, but it still took us 6 months to get rid of him.
Trying to get rid of Rasputin, isn't it? It was just
but with Truss, it was like on speed.
It was on. I was on my book tour, and every night I would be talking about things that happened over the last 6 years. And I always have to ask the audience halfway through, is she still Prime Minister? I thought they'd all have their phones and she could have gone, you know.
And it was like the whole news cycle had suddenly just taken drugs and was on some kind of... it's almost like once she went, everyone was a bit embarrassed by how crazy it had gone.
Yeah, really. It's like a sort of Midsummer Night's Dream or something. It's just like this extraordinary... Someone was telling me a funny story about Kwasi Kwarteng at university this weekend, so I'm just going to pass it on to you. That when he came around to their house when he was a student, because they were at the same university with him, and he got really drunk, and he threw up on their sofa, and then he woke up in the morning, and instead of cleaning up his sick like anyone would, he just left it. And I saw a number of metaphors. Just left it.
Yeah.
You clean your sick up. Sorry, that's... I'm a stickler.
Yeah. But I also detected, though, a sense from you lot, the public, and you lot, the media, I'm keeping out of this, a sense of almost like we're now looking for quick fixes, you know, quick hits in the news. You know, we got Boris out 3 months it took. Like the next one, let's see if we can do it in a month. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's becoming addictive.
But the Conservative Party itself is addicted to its own mad psychodrama. It has lived in this thing. They've all become like the equivalent of reality TV stars. Yeah. They're on TV more than Ant and Dec, half these people. You should never have had to find out who, you know, Mark Francois was, Steve Baker. No one except their MPs, and even then should have had to, the people they were MPs for should have had to know them. Yeah. But they've become, you know, they became, and then the level of briefing you now see, which instead of someone saying, well, you know, I think someone's quietly saying they've got that wrong. You now see, Michael Gove is evil. The darkness corrupts his soul. Like, you're like reading this stuff in the Sunday Times every week. Like, who said that? I mean, it's just, they can't. The quotes are getting more and more. The off-the-record briefings are getting more and more baroque and ridiculous.
It's like a kind of badly overdone Netflix show, isn't it, really?
It's just not in the same lighting, but other than that, yes.
Like directed by Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Yes. So now we have Rishi.
Now we have. But we nearly had a little someone come back.
Spurt. We nearly had a little spurt of Johnson.
We nearly
again,
had someone come back.
Yeah.
Well, we did have someone come back. For the
it was
Dominican
quite
Republic.
funny that he abandoned his holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it because he's shown how much he wants it, and then he didn't get it. So I like that bit. But unfortunately, now he's shown his hand. He really does want it. And that, before I could kid myself that, this is ridiculous. Of course, he wouldn't want to come back.
And is he genuinely thinking that Rishi will be out in a year's time, and therefore it's all for the taking?
Definitely, I can definitely see them going back to him. Let me see what
Just
else
for
is
the
in this
lols.
cupboard. Just thinking, fuck it, it's so bad now. I mean, we've got an election. It's so bad.
Do you think that's what? I mean, you stare at these ghouls every day. From the press gallery. Will Rishi last beyond the year?
I don't think so.
Really?
Well, I mean, I think the next 6 months are going to be really bad. I mean, strikes. I mean, people are going to have real struggle with the cost of living. And
He could easily not get the budget through.
They might not get the budget through. I mean
all discipline's gone, isn't it?
Yeah,
All the different factions.
I mean, at the moment he's under attack from his backbenchers the whole time, and his way forward is just to say, okay, whatever you want. I never liked wind farms. Yeah, no, I like wind farms. Houses, do we need them? No, I don't think we do. Yeah. People
we do.
What's wrong with a hammock? Yeah. But I mean, I have this sort of theory from having watched Rishi Sunak. So what makes him tick? And I kind of think he's a man in search of validation. He's been the tech bro. He's been the kind of Goldman Sachs guy, and he still can't get it. He still wants to be loved and needed. And he doesn't get that at home because he's gone out and he's made 20 million quid. And he goes to his wife and says, I've made 20 million quid today. And she goes, so what? I mean, that's literally nothing. My dad's got 5 billion. So he's never going to find what he wants.
I met the
so
king.
He goes off.
I met the king. I meet him once a week.
Yeah.
Did you get anything out of him? Did you? You signed him up? Have you done a deal with him?
Yeah.
What are you getting from him?
Yeah. Do you own Downing Street?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No.
So why are you living? You're living in a house you don't own.
You're renting.
Yeah.
Are you renting?
Yeah.
Oh dear, that's such.
And he doesn't get validation. I mean, now his backbenchers are on a 3-line whip to turn up to Prime Minister's questions.
Are they?
Yeah, and even then there are so huge number of vacancies. Green spaces, because they know he's rubbish.
But they'll need fresh blood soon, as you say. They've got the taste, big time now.
Yeah.
They'll have to do it all over again.
We must feast.
Bring that back.
When the moon is out.
102 of them wanted to bring Boris Johnson back 6 weeks after he'd left. 102. There were enough names, and he just couldn't have governed the party. But
and I thought it was so good that he actually gets the number of names and then lets them all down and makes them look a complete idiot for backing him.
Yes.
And then goes back to his wife, who he pissed off by abandoning their holiday in the first place to come and become leader. Yeah.
God, it must be tiring.
Yeah. So Ella Braverman. I'm just going to leave it there, really. Yeah. What's up? Why is she?
What? She is an unbelievable moron. She's a really, even by the standards. She's like a conveyancing solicitor or something. Not literally,
tell us something that we don't know. Come on.
I mean, I suppose She has been. I mean, she will be if they. I mean, even if they sort of split in opposition, or if they, all sorts of things could happen. But she's really setting out her stall as just the say anything.
Yeah.
You know, there's no filter. There's no filter left with her.
But I just feel. I mean, it's it's going back to Matt Hancock, who he's acknowledging what their party has become, which is just full of showbiz wannabes. So, I feel Liz Truss wanted to be Prime Minister from the age of 16 and in her bedroom, into a hairdryer and a hairbrush, practiced Margaret Thatcher speeches and so on. And thought that's what it is.
Yeah.
And didn't realise that you have to have a whole mindset apart from that, which involves dealing with people, different departments, having a general overall strategic view about where the country's going, a feel for the country, a connection with humanity, and a sense of the pressing concerns and an ability to prioritise and maximise not just your own authority, but to be able to delegate and devolve particular skills to those around you, allowing them freedom to kind of rise to the occasion. But she didn't have that. And I don't feel any of them have that.
No.
There's a whole generation.
One of the big problems is that because of the sort of successive filtrations via the different prime ministers, you keep getting these people who've been chosen solely for the loyalty to Brexit.
Yes.
And then lots of them behave very badly and have to get sacked.
Yeah.
So you get the really bad ones who are really loyal to Brexit and have no other really raison d'etre at all. And Suella Braverman's definitely one of those. I mean, she's like a real ERG headbanger, and
she goes, they have a question on sort of why people are dying in St Manston, and her answer is always, but there's not enough.
Yeah.
She thinks there should be more dying, because then her policies are actually working. I mean, she is a strange woman.
And it also strikes me that they're very, I mean, they always remind me, I always think of them as people who've like won a competition to be that job for the day.
For the day, yeah.
Yeah. And yet somehow people have forgotten to tell them to stop. Because the prize is over now. They've had their day. And yet, strangely, they've been left in power. That's how I feel. They don't feel real. They don't feel...
They're constantly surprised by the challenges of the job, as though, having said how easy it is. I mean, she has had a number of very unfortunate, just people committee hearings or whatever, and she has no clue. And it's really. She's one of those people that I almost don't want her to speak in answer to the interview questions, because I find it's almost like watching Borat. It's too painful. I can't quite. It's like she's going to say something so stupid now that I can't quite watch it. There's an element of that with her, and she's going to be so underbriefed. She's literally not going to have a clue about any of this.
Yes.
And she's going to, and she's actually probably going to try and lie about it as well, which is what she's done.
And I also remember we'll be coming very, very soon to take questions. So do have a think about the question. But while you're mulling what you're saying there is one thing I have noticed as a growing trend, and I think Boris was part of this, which is trying to avoid questions. Trying to evade, not do the Andrew Neil interview, not sit down, apparently Rishi Sunak has said, no, we're not going to do the daily ministerial rounds of the TV studios and stuff like that. We're not going to go on there today. There was a point, I think, when Boris first got in. I should stop calling him Boris. He doesn't deserve that kind of Cher, Sting, kind of Johnson. Johnson. When Johnson got in, of them just refusing to go on the Today.
Yeah.
They tried to boycott the Today programme. And I think it's now become actually much more of a pattern, really.
You're right. It felt more aggressive at the start when they started doing it. That was a real Cummings thing, that we're not going to do this. But now it just feels like we've really checked out. We don't even, we don't turn up. We have no interest.
But also a kind of, it's actually, it's unconstructive to ask us questions.
Yeah.
It's part of the Anti-Growth Alliance. Thankfully, the whole business of privatising various Channel 4 and whatever, I think, has gone. But there was that slightly sinister, if you keep asking us difficult questions, we will shut you down.
Hugely. The BBC's been in a fight for their life the whole way through.
I also think that some ministers have actually just said, I'm not going on anymore because I am not going to repeat the lie, because I'm not going to lie on your behalf anymore.
Yeah.
So they kind of don't do it. I mean, then you get sort of Michael Gove the other day, literally on the radio, that he was saying, he was asked, is it weak that Rishi Sunak has changed his mind on housing? He said, no, that's a sign of strength. And literally, we are in a kind of Orwellian world where the opposite to reality is true.
Weakness is strength.
Yeah.
Yes. Work sets you free.
Yeah.
Yes.
I found a number of his news interviews very watchable, though, this year, Michael. I want to hear much more from him and see much more from him.
Yeah.
He's been very... There's been a number of interviews where he seemed very agitated. Huge numbers. It's really, I mean...
What do you think is driving that agitation?
It's really hard to say, isn't it? Certainly in a libel-monitored forum. So I don't know, but I
just
find it
pretend there's
watchable.
no one here.
Yeah. Just put it on Twitter, don't worry. I'll sign for it.
I think, now, how are we going to do the questions thing? Have we got roving mics? Have we, what's the, yes? So there's a mic over there, there's a mic there. Upstairs, you can shout. Oh, no, there's a mic up there. So, has anybody got any questions? Stick your hand up if you have a question. Question over there, yes?
I just wondered what you thought was the best football analogy for this year.
Oh, dear. Well, I think whenever politicians do it, it's terrible. And there is nothing that sort of screams inauthenticity than sort of both Starmer and Rishi Sunak saying before the England-Wales game, come on, England and Wales.
Yes. Yes.
You kind of think...
Who are you supporting? You know who I'm supporting tonight? Football.
Yeah, exactly. And you just kind of think, just say what you think. You know, tonight I hate the Welsh. You know.
There's your poster.
Yeah.
I did like that photo of Gordon Brown up in Leeds with Starmer watching the England-Senegal match. And Starmer and his daddy, well, yeah. And he was like...
Yeah.
In his suit.
Yeah.
In his suit.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know that Gordon Brown was sort of screaming for Senegal, you know.
Yeah.
Any good Scot would.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question. Does that answer your question? Yes. Right, someone over there, and we will come up there as well. Yeah.
All the shenanigans of the last few years, the last couple of years, what does it say to us about Britain and where the great British public are at? I mean, Matt Hancock, I think, came third in I'm a Celebrity after everything has happened. So what does that tell us about the country?
I liked the fact they came third, because it's almost as if the British public said, we're going to put you through every humiliation you can imagine. And then at the end, you're going to lose.
Yeah. Yeah. But there is something, I mean, Matt will be quite proud of that. I looked at his Amazon bio today.
Did you write a review?
Well, no, I'm not. I'm bringing the digested read out of retirement for one session only for this. And it says, Matt Hancock was the third youngest cabinet minister. And you kind of think, who really cares? I mean, who is counting? But Matt is counting. This really matters to him.
But he can count to three. He's just it's just a whole string of coming thirds.
Yeah.
Really. That's yes, yeah. Yes. I'm just seeing what. Will we ever be anything but an international joke? That's from Annabelle Mark.
Oh.
Well, not if we've got anything to do with it.
I have so many readers who write to me from like places right all over the world who say, "Oh, I've no idea who any of the people are in your column, but I do enjoy the story." We're like a telenovela for the world. It's I get so many of those people who just don't know who any characters are, and it's just like, this is what we are now. It's
yes. I mean, we haven't discussed Keir Starmer at all yet.
What does that
say something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is it going to work? I suppose boring is good. Boring is the new marvellous, isn't it?
Yeah, though, as long as we don't mention Brexit. He's very keen that we should not mention Brexit.
Well, that's over. That's been resolved.
That's been solved.
I think we've all moved on.
Yeah.
They're going to have to mention it at some point, though.
Yes,
it's hysterical. The polls keep getting more like that 70% of the country believe it is the most disastrous idea ever. It's like, if it gets to like 80, are you not talking... 80% of the country don't think anything. This is like the only thing they agree on. I mean, this is really quite big. You're going to have to start talking about it.
I mean, is he a master strategist over this? Yes, there we go. Yes. In that he's going, I don't want to scare off the northern, the red.
No, I think it's all been focus grouped to death.
So I have to pretend that I'm not going to talk about Brexit until it reaches a certain point.
Although they're going to vote, Labour anyway.
Yeah, and then once he's PM, he'll start talking Brexit. Is that the plan?
Well, I assume
I thought Jeremy Hunt was trying to do that, because I thought Jeremy Hunt, when he was saying about the Switzerland style thing, and I thought, oh my God, you're gonna go out there and just take the fire, that scene in the movie. You and Sunak are just gonna like shovel all the shit and then have this big fight with the EIG, but then they just rolled it all back. It was like, all right, you're still going to put off the fight with the EIG.
Was that just from Hunt that came? That Swiss story.
Yeah, but I don't trust Jeremy Hunt myself.
Nor the Conservative Party.
I bumped into him at Hay, and he sort of rushed up to me and said, "Hi, David."
I don't believe him because
I've no idea.
He makes it seem like he's
David. Did he think?
I have no idea.
Cameron.
It's a mystery. I said no, it's John, and he sort of went red and said, "Yeah, of course."
He makes such. I don't trust him because he makes a big thing about I'm a very, very successful businessman. He's a sort of multimillionaire. When you think he ran a course directory company. I mean, look, I've done lots of courses myself, but when you go to central casting and you think of millionaire entrepreneur, you don't think of the course directory, and that's Jeremy Hunt. And there's more to him than meets the eye, and it's not good.
Well, this. I think someone upstairs had their hand up. Yep.
As we've alluded to, there's been a number of cabinet resignations this year, obviously as a result of Putin's illegal and abhorrent war in Ukraine. And of course the Guardian reading tofu eating wokarati.
The wokarati.
Hey! In the house.
I was actually Secretary of State for Agriculture for about 10 minutes at one point. But I actually have a quiz question for the panel. To the nearest 10, does anyone here know how many different resignations from ministers have taken place? So that includes cabinet, anyone in government, advisors to cabinet ministers.
Over which period are we talking? The last year?
2022.
Oh, no, that's not.
Nearest 10.
There were 58 to shift Johnson.
Yeah.
58. He got them. He said he had a moment of clarity.
Does that include sackings?
Yes.
Okay.
And the only reason Johnson went in the end was because they genuinely had worked out they'd ran out of people to fill the government.
Yeah, he couldn't fill various...
He couldn't fill it.
Yeah.
He didn't have a government.
Mind you, it might have been quite good not to have a chancellor.
Is it something like 75 or something?
112.
112?
No, I don't know, I'm guessing.
What's
Actually a nice round 150.
Oh.
That's the sign of a healthy democracy.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, it is.
And
everyone gets to be famous for 15 minutes.
That doesn't include people reshuffled either. It's just pure out of government. There you go.
Wow.
I started this evening kind of looking forward to it. I think this will be fun, but I've just got depressed. I mean, we are laughing. I mean, it's just extraordinary.
It's a declinist narrative.
But also, it's a government that's had a majority of 80. Normally, that's the sign of a strong government. Can do anything it likes. It has an agenda. It's got the votes. It's whatever you think of the voting system that got them there. Traditionally, it's seen as a kind of strong and stable. Not the coalition of chaos we were going to get from Ed Miliband, but a strong and stable, and yet but that says so much. That says so much. Despite that, if the thing at the heart of it, the person at the heart of it, let's call him Johnson, has no no authority, no sense of what the role means, what you know, the responsibility that goes with that role. If they're not prepared to bring that to the role, as it were, but the whole thing collapses.
They also have no ideas. They have no ideas. He has no interest in public service or being involved, being involved in politics to help others. They have no ideas. The only big idea you've seen at all was Liz Truss's big idea, which was the wrong idea. But it was at least a big idea.
But at least you had the idea.
Yeah.
You've got to give her that.
It was at least a big idea. And the problems are now so fundamental. And this tiny kind of tinkering and coming up with phrases like levelling up that mean that they don't even know what it means. No. And they never have a plan of how to deliver it. There's nothing there. It's like the hollow narcissism, the hollowness at the heart of his narcissism has become our state.
I also think...
Yes. No, yes.
I also think there's a sort of pathos in that, because in 2019, when Johnson got his 80-seat majority, all the Tories elected thought they were there for 3 terms. It was, it was an impregnable position. They thought they were there for 10, 15 years. And, and the corollary of that is that Labour actually thought it was in opposition for that length of time as well. And I kind of think one of the problems with Labour at the moment is trying to get the sort of front bench into a kind of mindset where they actually believe they can win this, because they're still quite timid about selling themselves.
Definitely.
I think they need to be more bullish and just go out there and say, look.
And I don't know why Starmer doesn't promote them more, because, just as a front bench, when you compare them to their opposite numbers, the cavern of fools facing there's no competition, really. There's lots of very impressive people there, and I don't know why Starmer moves on from making it about himself and the leader and about the team, really. But isn't, business and donations are now going, it's funny how you could just see how the herd operates, really, and the herd is now moving to Labour.
Tomorrow, I know, because I will be there, Labour are holding a business event at Canary Wharf, and it's been the hottest ticket, apparently. City PRs have been falling over themselves to try and get there, because business thinks that this is the next government. These are serious people worth paying attention to. So, there's an open door there, and I think that, Labour just need a bit of help being pushed through it.
And any questions back down here? Yes, over there, yeah.
Back in December 2019, the political editor of the Age newspaper in Melbourne described Britain as, and I quote, the poster child for political dysfunction. That was 3 years ago. How would the panel describe Britain today, politically?
Wow.
Still the poster child, but it's a poster that's been defecated on. Oh, that's sorry.
Well, I'm imagining it.
Yes. Well, Anne Laird has asked if you could pick one word to sum up the year, what would it be?
Trust a fuck.
That's a good one. I can't.
Very good. That's going in chambers.
Permacrisis has gone in, hasn't it?
Permacrisis is the word of the year in the OED. I think permacrisis. Yes.
Yeah,
Well, we haven't even got on to we haven't gone on to climate change at all.
Yeah.
What is it with this? I don't want any wind farms. I do want wind farms. I don't want any. Liz Truss was. I don't want solar panels in fields. Where the fuck do you think solar panels would go? You put them on flat ground that faces up to the sky. That's how they work. You don't put them in your basement.
She described it as paraphernalia.
Paraphernalia.
Yes.
As if cows are. They're paraphernalia.
Yes.
I don't understand their attitude to kind of climate, which is, we're very much for doing stuff about the climate. It's just not on our land.
And Sunak only went to COP26 in Sharm el-Sheikh, just because Boris had got an invite to go there, and he was terrified of being upstaged.
Yeah.
And he didn't even allow Alok Sharma to be in cabinet. I mean, so he clearly doesn't really give a toss.
And I also think, if he insists on having, you can only have wind farms offshore, in 10 years' time, most of this country will be offshore.
It's in many ways a quicker way of doing it.
Yes.
By stealth.
And he'll probably claim that's some sort of vindication for his policy. Yes. Right. Yes, right down there. I'm going to make them run. They will come to you. And while we're waiting, just anyone upstairs? I shouldn't call it upstairs. That's so kind of on the gallery. Nothing from the gallery.
Circle.
People downstairs, nothing from up there. Yes, go on.
Hoping this is a bit more inspiring, but how would you convince someone completely disillusioned to vote?
How would we convince someone to vote? Well, if anything, I just see what you think. I think what we've realised is that actually votes have consequences. They're not just a bit of a lark. And anyone who voted, thought that the Brexit referendum was a time to just, stick two fingers up to whatever. I think they're now realising, oh no, this has consequences. The people we elect to put in charge actually are in charge not just of our economy, but over the last 2 years are in charge of life and death decisions, really. Similarly, I think America's beginning to wake up to the idea, oh, hang on, just thinking, oh, Trump, he'll shake things up. Oh no, that has consequences. So what I'd say is it's important that we vote, that actually the people that we've been discussing and having a laugh about tonight are the ones who benefit from us not engaging in politics. Because what is happening at the moment is, their aim is to put you off politics as much as possible, that you will not think about voting at all.
And also they are the ones who are fundamentally unelected. Liz Truss was elected by about 160,000 Tory members. And then the Tory party thought, oh, there's rather too many people voting. So, so next time we'll just have 350 Tory MPs voting, and that's how we've got
quite a few of whom are sexual predators.
But we'll allow sexual predators out for votes.
Yes.
Yes. And
it's part of their community.
Yes, it's part of their rehab.
Yes. So that's our answer. So that's democracy. Democracy is. We always think of democracy as something that is like ingrained and permanent. It's not. It's not. As we've seen, people can come into power like in Hungary and Turkey and Russia and America and start tinkering with the constitution and tinkering with the laws. Here. We've had a new law passed, I think now, about voter ID. We will now have to show ID to vote. Because there is no record of voter fraud.
We have no voter fraud.
There's no voter fraud. But that's going to, and it's going to be easier for a pensioner to, a pensioner can show their pass, but things like, student or rail cards, they don't apply. So it's going to be harder for people who don't have cars, who don't have passports and so on, to be able to vote. And that, again, is, not just shutting down the media and running away from questioning, but actually discouraging your opponents from voting is just part, I think, of a very, very worrying trend.
I often find if you tell young people not to do something, then they actually end up doing it. So the more they try, hopefully the more people will.
And again, that's another reason why I think the only way we can fight against that is by turning out in even larger numbers to vote. Gentleman there in the middle. I say middle, it's sort of a third bank.
Devolution is the order of the day. Which parish council would you like the present members of the cabinet to be devolved to?
Oh, which parish council?
Yes.
What I like, Gosh, I mean, I'd like them to be stuck in that one that we all watched on Zoom during the pandemic. But with the...
You have no authority!
With the impossible piece, yeah.
Yes,
and then
yes.
to be trapped in that on a loop, though, for all eternity. And to be unable to escape, to just have to live in the box
I
of the
think
Zoom.
Liz Truss is. Liz Truss still tweets, and I hadn't unfollowed her when she stopped being Prime Minister.
That's good of you. I like that about you.
And she's still there. I mean, I don't think she's a bot. And and she's still tweeting photos. She always does this, but it's like meeting the head of the local library in her constituency, and then watching the bins being collected in her constituency. And it's like she's just doing community service, wandering around for spaffing 40 billions of our money. So I think she's now trapped in that kind of so yes, a parish council for all our ex-prime ministers would be very...
She might become Theresa May's become a really good sort of intervener. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's true. It's a bit like, like our hero Jeff Boycott, who was pretty brilliant but unwatchable. But that was a brilliant commentator. She has now become a really good intervener, and maybe in 2 years' time we'll be thinking, Liz Truss did something quite good in the House of Commons today.
I mean, Theresa May is a surprise, isn't she?
She's a comedy box revelation.
She's turned out to be quite a good after-dinner speaker.
And I've heard her
speech about the Queen.
We've heard her. How many?
And I mean, today she came like an extra from Star Trek. Where she had this sort of dress with a sort of diagonal sort of orange stripe across it.
To do what? What's she doing?
I don't know. But I've always sort of wondered quite why. Because she is still desperately awkward. She doesn't talk to anyone in the Commons. I mean, most people sort of natter their way through, to their neighbours through PMQs. She kind of sits there and stands. But she clearly likes being a local MP, which is... So remarkable.
She did actually notice and back up someone who had seen, I've just remembered another year highlight, the guy watching the porn on his phone in the House of Commons. She backed somebody up there and said it was absolutely disgusting. She'd seen it too. The tractor porn,
Tractor porn.
I can't quite remember how the tractor.
It's amazing how you always go back to it.
Yeah.
Just erasing all my tractor porn on that iPad there. So yes.
Right. In a year's time, Matt Hancock will surely have a career in Christmas panto. But as which character?
Oh. I wish it would be Baron Hardup, but it won't be. You get paid a lot for Pando.
We do Hanky. No.
Yes, I'd like to see him play
Buttons.
it.
He'd be
Buttons.
Buttons.
Perfect. Yeah, because he is a doormat.
Yes. Yes.
So he's there to serve.
Yes. And he'll so enjoy doing the kind of every now and then. Somebody waving furiously at the back there. Yes, you sir, over the back. Oh, Mike. Is that your name or?
Yes. Michelle Mone has been in the news recently.
Oh, yes.
And Prince Charles, has processed a fortnight's bag full of cash into one of his whatever charities he's running. And I wondered if large amounts of money might have something to do with the mediocrity you've been talking about all evening.
Yeah. Is that a criticism?
Maybe someone's paying Matt Hancock to be that bad.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, Mone, or what's her name?
Michelle.
Lady
Baroness.
Mone.
Baroness Mone.
I'm gripped by her.
Yeah.
Isn't there a Lord Panic?
Yeah, there is. Lord
Panic.
Yeah.
And the silent moan.
And Moan.
Yeah.
I mean, it all comes back to where we started, really, which was Matt Hancock and COVID and Partygate. It's the whole business of the VIP fast track for people you know who might know someone, who might run a pub, who might be able to
Publican. How did the publican do it?
Why we let that go by? I mean, we all know what's happened. Why are we not manning the barricades and I mean, this is indefensible, isn't it?
I mean, Michelle Mone. I mean, she clearly saw a pandemic as an opportunity for a scam, for profiteering. I mean, it turned out yesterday that the company she was sort of promoting a contract for hadn't even been registered by the time she was sort of promoting it.
Yes.
It was 5 days later that it finally became PPE. But
our political leaders in such a kind of echo chamber that they genuinely think that the world is the people they know in politics and in their career. And that's it.
Which is quite an eccentric form of, what a business person is and what an impressive... David Cameron probably... Did he not make her the business czar or something?
But aren't they overly impressed by business?
Yeah, completely. In the way that Tony Blair was hopelessly impressed by anyone rich.
I think they love anyone who looks like they're a businessman. Do you know what I mean?
Whereas she is genuinely cray-cray. I mean, you can look... I mean, really, the idea that you'd be like, yeah, let's get her to make some PPE. What? Okay, she makes like spangled bras and stuff. I know that she can get a different...
Yes.
But she is...
We've got this... What is it? He makes balloon animals, but he's going to do... he can do PPE. I know.
Yeah.
He's a children's entertainer, but no, he can give him 400 million.
And the thing is that none of this stuff works, and we're now paying £770,000 a day to store a whole load of PPE that doesn't work because somebody forgot to sort of sew on the head holes.
But if I'd ordered that on Amazon, it came and I thought, well, there's no head here, I can't get my head in. I'd send it back and get the money back.
No, well, I think the government are waiting. I think the government are waiting for some headless doctors.
Yeah. We've certainly got the headless government because Rishi Sunak kept saying, I'm absolutely shocked to discuss. I'm so shocked by these revelations. It's like, yeah, but they've been going on for weeks now. Yeah. When are you going to stop me? And then in the end, she's now taken the whip away from herself.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. But why can't we get the money back? I mean, do you know? Why can't we?
He wrote off.
Because I think it was
Sunak
all legal.
Wrote off billions.
It was all legal, but it wasn't in that they supplied shoddy goods. Isn't there a trades description law that we can get them on?
But everyone's allowed to make one mistake.
said the captain of the Titanic.
Yeah.
Right. I think we've got time for we'll take three. We'll do three. We're going to do a quick fire round now.
Oh no.
3 final questions. Gentleman at the back there. Anyone from upstairs? In the gods, the heavens? Yes, there is a question there. So we'll do you, sir, and then we'll do question number 2 will be there. So number 1, yeah.
Thanks. Look, as an international reader of yours, Marina and John, your article last week, I think it was, John, about the obsession with of the last 3 prime ministers with Taiwan and China. You wrote about that.
Did I?
You did. An avid reader, John.
I must learn to read my own stuff.
Well, I mean, it just strikes me. I can't understand why you've got 3 prime ministers who believe that they can threaten China over Taiwan militarily, when the last time the British were in the Asia Pacific was in 1942 in Singapore, and that didn't work well.
We need Gavin
They're
Williamson.
not great historians, I think that. You're not dealing with people with a firm grasp of history, including their own.
We need Gavin Williamson.
Yeah. To tell them to
go
away.
Go away. Shut up and go away.
Yeah.
I'm a real tough operator. I'm very frightening. I've got lots of skullduggery. I'll shut up and go away. Yes. Question up there.
I think it's over here. Hiya. Hopefully not too serious a question to end on, but what, in your view, has been the role of the media this year in all the craziness, and what would be your headline of the year?
Ooh. Well, we happen to have the media with us, so media.
the media have got, I mean, the media, like most years, have got a huge amount of stuff wrong. I find it quite depressing, the amount of journalists who seem to basically work for, have such close ties with some of these Tory leaders, and then not really talk about, either not really talk about them or whatever. But I mean, you really had to, a huge number, I quite like it because you watched a huge number of journalists got on board with Liz Truss and was like, no, this is the future, it's going to be, you know, and it's like, right. But they just carry on after their failures.
Yeah.
Unlike the prime ministers that are at least shoved out of the door, the journalists who sort of build them up just like move on to the next one. So I do find, I think the media has become much too much of a actor in those things, and that there should be far greater separation between people and the people they write about. I mean, I don't find it a problem, but...
Well, there is a kind of revolving door of ex-editors of news programmes becoming the running the department for the Prime Minister, you know, becoming the communications director for the Prime Minister.
But you can't have journalists be godfather to, like, Boris Johnson's children.
No.
Yeah.
I know everyone gets a go in the end, but...
And there are a lot of children.
It's like jury service, we'll all do it.
But I think Marina's right. I mean, after Kwasi Kwarteng's budget, both the Telegraph and the Mail ran front pages, at last, a budget that Britain deserves.
Yes. Budget for the people. A budget for families.
But they should stop talking the country down.
Yes. I think, you know, and possibly, I think the media is now beginning to, I think, for example, the BBC in particular, know that through the whole Brexit thing, they didn't question what they knew were lies, because they felt they couldn't. They felt the government was breathing down on them, and that, you know, licence fee funding was going to be threatened, and they couldn't say this side of the bus thing about the NHS isn't true. Turkey isn't going to join the EU. You know, all these things that they felt, you know, for the principle of that golden rule of impartiality and balance. It meant they couldn't be seen to be questioning the other side, because they sort of feared that was their, you know, liberal bias. Whereas in fact it's just objective journalism. When you see a fact, when you see something's presented as fact that isn't true, you should call it out. I think that is happening now. I think there is, you know, there was a Newsnight item last week actually saying this is the cost of Brexit. This is what Brexit has been, which I think a year ago they wouldn't have felt emboldened to do, but I think now that they've seen what's happened in the last 12 months, they feel a little bit more that they can actually start, you know, exerting themselves in an objective way, but actually feeling brave enough to call things out when they should be called out, I think. It's a very serious note on which to end, but I'll just say Suella Braverman again. And call it a day, and indeed a year. I want to say thank you very much to everyone at home who's been tuning in. We've been reading some of your questions out, and thank you very much for your questions here and for being such a lovely audience. Before we go, I just want to, as well as saying thank you very much to Marina Hyde and John Crace.
Thank you.
And
And just before we go, I just want to say that there are copies outside of Marina's book, What Just Happened, which is a collection of your cries of despair.
Chronicles of the perma-crisis.
And you've got John's book, A Farewell to Calm, which is similarly...
Upbeat.
A summary.
Another happy story.
But I just once again want to thank you all for coming out, and once again say thanks to our two fantastic guests.
Thank you to Armando.
Thank you.